you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give you Lisa Bilyeu's plan that I customized for her last week because she's being very public about the work we're doing together. So Lisa Bilyeu is the podcast host for Women of Impact. I highly recommend you follow this badass woman. She is incredible. She is a high performer. She was the founder of Quest Nutrition. She sold that company about 5 to 7 years ago. And she now has this amazing podcast that is all built around empowering women. And she had last week a really busy week. So she literally sent me her calendar and we built a fasting lifestyle around her demands that week. And I'm going to give you some of the highlights that I created for her that you might find necessary for your fasting lifestyle. And you're going to see, if you're like, I'm so confused, we took the demands of her life and we customized eating windows and fasting windows around what her life demanded and when she needed to be into a performance state. So it started on a Sunday. She was flying from LA to New York on Sunday, but her flight was at like 11 or 12 California time. So I would have told her to fast all day long. A lot of times my travel days are fasting days. And this is a really important note. When you go up in an airplane, your digestion shuts down. That pressure change causes a change to your digestion. And so the best thing you can do when you fly is to not eat a meal 2 hours before the flight or just to fast all day. One trick I've been doing lately is bringing bone broth protein powder on a flight with me. And then I just ask for hot water and I'll just drink bone broth while I'm on the flight. Now, Lisa, we had seen some days, she's very thin, and we had seen some days when she fasts all day that she went into a really cortisol saturated anxiety state and her blood sugar dropped. We had already experimented with that 2 weeks earlier. I didn't want to reproduce that. So I told her to get up that morning and eat breakfast. Just make sure that and have a big breakfast, a carb-rich breakfast, a protein-rich breakfast, 2 hours, make sure it was 2 hours before she got on the flight. By the way, another fun hack is she's in her mid-40s. She built this badass company that was a lot of stress. And so both myself and she had just interviewed Dr. Daniel Amen on her podcast, and he told her that he just doesn't fly red eyes anymore because he's like, I'm too old and I care too much about my sleep and I want to protect my brain. I don't do red eyes. So she was used to doing red eyes because they're very time efficient. And I told her, no, we're trying to get you out of dysregulation with your nervous system. I agree with Dr. Amen, no red eyes. So she took this flight right smack in the middle of the day, which was great for her nervous system, but it created a bit of a challenge for her food system. So her biggest meal that day was breakfast. Then she got to New York and the plan was for her to do bone broth. But she messaged me and she's like, I'm here. It's 8:00 at night. She had a big day of interviewing. She was interviewing the next day, Mel B, the Spice Girl, and she was really excited about it. And I had already witnessed that she needs to be fueled before a high performance state. So I needed to get some food in her. So I told her at 8:00 at night, here's what I would tell you is eat some protein because protein's going to stabilize your blood sugar. So she had taken some Paleo Valley beef sticks. And when she got to her hotel, she had a bunch of beef sticks and some bone broth protein and went to bed. So now she had amino acids in her. We had stabilized her blood sugar. She woke up the next morning. Her interview with Mel B was at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So I had her eat breakfast and eat like a couple of good meals before the interview. They were more ketobiotic. We didn't go into carbs. We did more protein, more vegetables, so she could be in a performance state at 2:00 in the afternoon. Then she came out of that. By the time she was done, it was 6:00 at night. And for recovery, we went back in to more protein, same kind of meal that she had that night. Now, Tuesday, she got up early and flew home. So there was no breakfast, but now by the time she got home, I was like, we got to get some carbs in you. You've done a lot of protein and a lot of fasting. We need some carbs. So I told her when she got home to eat a carb-rich meal that night so we could bring the carbs back in. And then Wednesday, she had another day where she had a couple of podcasts. So I kept her fasted that day, but I had her do a bone broth fast so she could keep her blood sugar up and that it was easy for her as she was going through her podcasting day. And then the following day, now she had a little more free time, so we went a little more into carbs because carbs can sometimes tank your energy. We created a longer eating window. And then the next day was her husband's birthday. And I'm like, you got to do whatever is right. You eat to celebrate his birthday. Like, let's not have a rule around it. So I tell you all this to say we had to build fasting around the flight. We had to keep her food in more of a keto state, build around performance. And we had to find pockets that fit where I could bring some carbs in and some more diversity of food. So she had enough nutrients to be able to keep her blood sugar at a high level. So if I completely lost you, no problem. I just want you to know that the name of the game was we created variety around the changing cadence of her schedule. And you can do the same. If you have more of a routine, it's much easier. If you have like an exercise routine, you have like a workout routine, much easier. Like you get up in the morning, your fasting window may be always in the morning. You like when I'm not traveling, I like to work out 11 o'clock. So I like to work out in a fasted state. So when I work out, I'll do some aminos, I'll do maybe some collagen powder, I'll go work out. And then the minute I come home, I open up my eating window and now I lean into more food. So I'm just sort of showing you the flexibility of this moving target. Believe me, it would be a lot easier for me to just tell you, here's when your eating window opens up every day. Here's when it closes down. Here's the food you're going to eat. It's so much easier to tell you that. But we all have these sort of lifestyles that tend to change. And so we need to have our food patterns change with it. And then we have to change with our hormones. So again, I hope that makes sense.